Buenas.
Buenas.
Hapaday, Taro, and welcome to Marianas Stories. This is where we chat with ordinary people with extraordinary stories in our community. I'm Catherine Perry, and our guest today has a real passion for bringing back an ancient Chamorro practice that's been dormant, lost really for centuries. Keith, King-Nabors. Keith, thanks for inviting me to
Oh, thank you for having me.
chat with you today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I think I invited you, but
Right.
it's all good. Hey, so maybe start us off because not everybody really knows about this part of Chamorro history. What do we know about how the ancient Chamorros used slings and slingstones?
Well, I mean, from what I've read is that it was one of the primitive weapons that we used besides the spear. So our spear was our go-to, and this was our backup, more long-distance weapon of war. You know, when the Chamorros were making their stand, when the Spanish were coming in on their small boats, this is our deterrent. You know, we didn't have gunpowder. I mean, we did have arrows, but I mean, this was the easiest technology and most accessible. You know, we didn't really have access to arrowheads, right?
Yeah.
Like they do in the Southwest, right? So this was the easiest thing, is getting a stone and slinging it out there and working on, you know, honing their craft.
And by the way, honing his craft in the background, you might see him, is his son. He's going to give us a little demo later on that Keith is going to explain to us. We're actually here on the island of Tinian. It's a little breezy today, so bear with us if the mic is not exactly clear. But anyways, can you tell us how you first became aware that this part of Chamorro culture was coming back, and not only aware, but like interested in pursuing it?
It was one day I was in Guam, down in Tumon, and I happened to go to the fuckeye shop down there, and I happened to run into my uncle and his sons, and they had invited me to their competition that night. It just so happened to be a Wednesday, and that's when they get together every Wednesday down in Tumon, and I went down there, and I was immediately addicted to the vibe. You know.
Why?
They were sharing stories. As soon as I got down there, I didn't have a sling. I was given like 4 or 5, and then a bunch to bring home with me to teach people here on Tinian.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Wow.
Just like that. And they were preparing at that point to go to the first time Guam was going to bring a delegation to Majorca, Spain, for the international competition. So they were using these events as a preparation to compete internationally.
So there's actually an international event where they compete using. Now, just curious, at this event, do they use like traditional?
Yeah,
that's like modern.
That's the thing.
Material?
Most slingers, they're slingers and they're weavers. So. They make their own, and some prefer, you know, natural fiber. Some prefer paracord. It just depends on the slinger and their slinging style. That's the thing that I found out through the years of just working on getting good at throwing. Is not one sling fits, you know, all. Right? You have to. They're like a baseball glove or baseball bat or basketball shoes. You have to find what fits you, your style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain to us what we have here in front of us?
All right, so these are just some basic slings from they call it shepherd sling.
Why? Well, I mean, not why, but where does the design come from?
The design comes from Europe.
Okay.
And, you know, back to the David and Goliath times, right? David slayed the giant with only using the sling and stone.
Yeah.
Right, so this one goes on the wrist. I talk about the different styles. Some people like to go on the wrist. I prefer the one that goes on the finger. Right?
Now, how does that fit exactly? Like, And what is the difference when you use it, you feel?
I mean, for me, it's about hitting your target, right? It's about being able to transfer what's the stone on here to where you want to deliver the stone to.
Okay.
And it just comes with feel. It's taken me years and years, and I finally found a design I like. He came down here during the Taga Fest. Brandon Cruz, I think it's behind you, the green one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brandon Cruz custom made this for me. And yeah, no, he's from Tinian. He works in the Air Force in Guam.
Okay.
And this is 5150 paracord. Parachute
Yeah.
rope. It lasts longer. It handles, the big rocks. I'm not really a small rock thrower. I like using big rocks. So it just depends on the thrower.
So I notice here, like, there's a gap here.
Yes.
That seems a little bit, well, there's not one here, but, well.
Right.
So is there a particular technique or is it just the size of the rock that holds it?
It's the size of the rock. These are for smaller rocks.
Okay.
And these 3 pouch ones, they're for tennis balls.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is this made of?
This here is hemp. This is hemp fiber.
And is that found here in the wild here in Tinian?
Oh no, it's not. It's not, but it
Has to be cultivated.
Right. It has to be cultivated. We have big rolls that we use when we're teaching the weaving. But this is like coconut fiber. It's just a little more stringy.
A little bit more coarse.
Right.
For big rock.
Right. And this is actually for coconuts.
Oh, well, there we go. Go ahead.
This is a giant sling that my uncle made for me because he's seen my passion for throwing big rocks. So this is a 14-foot one, Isaac.
Well, we did say it was a little bit breezy.
Yeah.
So I know, like, when they, my understanding is when they process the coconut fiber for like making rope, they soak it for 6 months or something like that for a certain period of time, and then you have to dry it, and then you have to shred it. And is the process similar, or how do you process the hemp and
Oh no, these are just comes on pre-rolls. I am not the weaver. I have they're master weavers. We have some amazing weavers throughout the King-Nabors and Guam and the Marianas, and I'm blessed to have them as friends, and they're always providing me with new things to try. Like this is from Rhoda. I have a sling there that's from Spain, and this is from Guam base that used to live on Tinian. So it's just sharing cultures from island to island.
Yeah. How about the slingstones?
The slingstones, these are gifts. Yes, absolutely. Most of the ones from Tinian, they're just gifts, in different places.
From different rocks.
Right. That's the thing. I've always been interested in rocks since I was a kid, and I started collecting these when I was real young. And throughout the years, people have gifted me. This one here is from Rhoda. This is one of the most. This is probably one of the most perfect shaped stones that I've ever come across.
Do you know what kind of stone this is?
That's clay. That's actually cooked. That was made by our ancestors in an oven, shaped, by their hands.
Yeah. This is made of clay, but this thing is heavy.
Yeah.
This is deadly.
And it's sharp.
Speed.
And it's sharp. And in the Spanish journals, the priests talked about, finding them embedded in trees, in deep gagu, like deep in the tree. So they were throwing hard,
And these can still be found in the islands today.
Absolutely. This was found maybe 3 months ago at the water break over there.
Okay.
And that's just coral, just carved.
What do you think is the appeal of this to you personally?
I mean, it's what got me hooked. It was the sharing of the stories from the different islands. And, you know, with technology these days, we kind of get away from that. That was pre-COVID, and they're still doing it now. They're still sharing story, but they've taken it to the next level. They're trying to introduce it in the Micronesian Games on Guam. They're trying to get it into their Olympic Council. It's already in, you know, middle school interscholastic sports. So the movement is taking it, their movement there is where I want to see us, you know, progress to, right? And having the kids learn, you know, these skills, weaving, and using their body mechanics, you know, the way our ancestors did, and learning those skills, you know, even if, you know, I'm not the hunter or the super fisherman, you know, but this is something that I can pass on to other generations, you know, that was passed on to me as well.
Yeah, this is actually physically taxing, am I correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
your son already did his warm-up. I was saying he's going to be in the back, but he actually did his warm-up before we started filming, so now he's just waiting for us. But yeah, so what's the physical demand here?
I mean, it's everything. Everything has to work right for you to hit that target, you know. Like the best slinger in the world, he's not the most athletic looking person, you know, but his body mechanics, right.
Like the aerodynamics.
Absolutely, the whole body mechanic, it's all connected down to the stone, you know.
The transfer of the power.
Right.
I'm getting excited. Well, you know, I was interested to hear before we started our interview that you are Familia Taga.
Yes.
Family of Taga. And for those of you that may not know, Taga is both an actual historical Chamorro chief and also a legendary. There are many legends associated with Taga. And you are bringing this to the annual Taga festival here in Tinian.
Right. This past October, we had our first ever in the CNMI. Our first ever sling competition. We had a junior division, we had a female division, and we had a men's division. And we had, I don't know, close to 27 competitors, 27 slingers. And that's a solid number for such a small community.
Yeah.
We had competitors from Guam, we had competitors from Rhoda, and our youngest competitor was from Saipan. And he's here. He was looking for me last night at the Pika, asking whether we had a tournament going on for Pika Fest, because I told him, you know, it was in the works, you know. Yeah. Unfortunately, it didn't matriculate, but I told him, come October, you get ready, you know. And his name is Roki, and he's 7 years old.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it's amazing, you know. He takes that and he takes it back to Saipan, and he's sharing it there. And at the end of the day, that's all really what I want to get out of it, you know. We want to also use that as a stepping stone for hopefully getting to the level where we can send someone out to Majorca and compete internationally. You know, have the kids or someone represent the CNMI out there in the international arena. Even Guam, you know, go down there and compete down there. And take the stories that we have with us and share it with them. Yeah.
Well, I would love to see a demo.
Okay.
And I'm going to jump behind the camera and let you kind of talk us through what your son is doing.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yo. Morning.
See here the beautiful turquoise lagoon here in Tinian. Oh, there we go. Now, Keith, number one, we saw the camera fall over earlier. Do I need to be worried about something unexpected happening with these slings?
Oh no, these boys, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing with these.
All right.
So these are maybe 20-gram stones. And those are some river rock that we buy at Home Depot. Maybe 10 grams. And he's using a paracord one, and this one was made from one of my friends, Matt, on Guam, and he custom made this for my son. And he uses the overhand technique. He's just gonna get the rock going over his head for a few rotations, and he's just gonna make sure that his flight is clear, and he's just gonna let it rip.
Wow, that went really far.
Yeah. Yep.
So have you
Keep on launching.
discovered, or were you taught any particular technique of how to stand or when to release?
Yeah, I mean, with
a lot of failures.
Absolutely. You want to just really get into an athletic position. I mean, everything we do is kind of with the knees bent, you know, following kind of sports movements. And it's just like a baseball throw almost. But they're just using their wrist to get the momentum of the rock going. And he's just going to get down in an athletic stance, and he's just going to let it rip.
How many yards?
Oh,
How many yards would you say that was?
maybe 80 yards. 80 yards. But some people like the bigger stones and they go a little bit farther. These guys are more target throwers. We usually throw at a 4 foot by 4 foot target with a metal bull that rings. Every time you hit it, it rings. So when you hit the board, it's worth 1 point. And you hit the bell, it's worth 2, and you get 3 throws per round, and we go for 4 rounds.
Okay. Now, these aren't the only young people that you've been working with.
Oh no, we've actually got a little group down here, maybe 20 to 30 people, and they're just young kids and adults alike, women as well, that just like to get together, share a story, do a little slinging on Wednesdays.
What do you think it means to the, especially like the young Chamorros, to be partaking in this part of their culture that really, like, we never really talked about this or did any of this when I was a kid?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of enjoy sharing the culture, and a bunch of them have found out that, you know, they're really good weavers. Made some money during the Tiger Festival selling slings to people who were interested in purchasing some. I mean, I hope they're getting, you know, some of the cultural aspect that, you know, they were lacking by coming out and slinging with us.
There, I got a good shot of that one.
Nice.
Keith, I really want to thank you for sharing your passion and your story with us today. Any final thoughts before we go?
Oh, no. I mean, I'd like to thank Roman De La Cruz, my Uncle Ben Guelu from Rhoda for introducing me to the sport and helping me along the way. They've always, you know, been great mentors and really pushed me to share the culture, share the sport. And I hope I'm doing them justice by doing what I do here on Tinian.
All right, thank you so much. We've been chatting with Keith King-Nabors, bringing back the ancient Chamorro practice of using slings and slingstones. Thanks so much to you and your family, Keith.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We'll see you next month on Marianas Stories. I'm Catherine Perry.